You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss. You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, there and ladies, things that makes official. Welcome to 16 years and 2,300 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. We've been doing this show so long, my back hurts because I've just been carrying it this whole time. Actually, the great guests we've been having on the show has been carrying it. And you can, too, support the show. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss won the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. I've been excited to have this guest come on because he's written a book that has outed, some of the crap that's been going on in Silicon Valley. We've seen it's, for those of you watching this on YouTube, that we've been on for 18 years, 10 years from now. It is April 2025. And there's some weird shit going on with the new Trump administration and some of the Silicon Valley billionaires that helped put him there. So we're going to get into it. He's the author of the newest book out April 22nd, 2025. Adam Becker joins us on the show. The title of his new book is called More Everything Forever, AI Overlords, Space Empires, and Silicon Valley's Crusade to Control the Fate of Humanity. So we're going to get into it with Adam, find out more from him about what he's up to, what he's found in his research and his knowledge. Adam Becker is a science journalist with a PhD in astrophysics. He's written for the New York Times, the BBC, NPR, Scientific American, New Scientist, Quanta, and other publications. His first book, What is Real?, was a New York Times book review editor's choice and was longlisted for the Penn Literary Science Writing Award. He has been a science journalist, fellow at the Santa Fe Institute, with a science communicator in residence at the Simons Institute for the Theory of Computing, and he lives in California. Welcome to the show. How are you, Adam?
Oh, thanks for having me, Chris. I'm doing really well. How are you?
I am excellent. Good to have you. Give us a .coms, any place on the social medias you want people to look you up.
Sure. Yeah, I'm on Blue Sky. I'm Adam Becker. And my website is freelanceastro.com.
You're not posting on X then, huh, Adam?
No, I used to, but then the weirdest thing happened.
What was that?
A horrible billionaire took it over and let a bunch of Nazis onto the platform.
Wow. So Nazis are bad? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Nazis are bad. If there's one message I really want listeners to take away from this interview, is that Nazis are bad.
Yeah. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how that label is now stuck to that brand, but we'll get into it. So give us a 30,000 overview in your words of what's inside your new book.
So my new book, More Everything Forever, is about the horrible and implausible ideas that tech billionaires are trying to shove down our throats about the future, our future. They are trying to decide our future for us, and we shouldn't let them.
But I mean, they're billionaires. Clearly, they've been doing everything right and stealing from all the right people all these years. Why shouldn't we trust them? Why shouldn't we trust them, Adam? Clearly,
yeah. I mean,
I've seen Hollywood movie stars. Just because you have money doesn't mean you have your shit together. Clearly, I think
I mean,
for billionaires.
Yeah, I think it is the same for billionaires. I think that they think that they're the smartest people ever because they have all of the money. And if anybody else was as smart as they were, they would have as much money. And so they don't need to listen to anybody who's not rich. But, the fact is, mostly they're lucky and they don't know a lot about anything other than, a couple of niche things that help them run their businesses. And in some cases, not even that.
Oh, wow. So you're saying our new oligarchy that we're switching governments to might be a bad thing? Is that
yes? I think it's awful. And these people just have deluded themselves into thinking that they're the smartest guys in the room when, at best they're mid.
Yeah, we're thieves. I mean,
well, they are definitely
thieves. I think it's attributed to several people. I think one of them is to Microsoft's ex-CEO and founder, but no great wealth was built without a great crime being committed. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's right.
Yeah, and I mean, in essence, something has to happen for someone to get an edge or someone to exploit an edge, I suppose. So there are several things you talk about in the book that are really interesting, because one of them is Silicon Valley's sharp turn to the right. I'm a big Sam Harris podcast fan. In fact, I think it's the number one podcast I listen to other than my own. And got to do something for 16 years. And Sam has been harping lately on the All In podcast, the fact that the Manosphere podcast seemed to have steered the election, maybe possibly to Trump. But he talks a lot about Elon Musk, of course, that he used to be close friends with, and the All In podcast, which I was surprised a couple of the people on there really turned extremely right wing. Yes. And now I think I'm really curious what their opinions are now that, we're locked down in 145% Chinese things. But tell us about how we got here with the Silicon Valley supporting, basically white nationalism.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things that looks really bizarre on the surface, but one of the things that I do in the book is explain that connection and make sense of it, because it is something that unfortunately does make sense once you dig deeper. It's not just a sudden thing that happened. And I don't think it was just, them aligning themselves with power nakedly. I mean, they are aligning themselves with power, but I think that it's actually something that's been coming for a long time. There are these ideas that are really, really powerful in Silicon Valley about what the future holds, about stuff like singularity, this sort of technological utopia that would be created by incredibly advanced AI and going to space and living forever. And there is this idea that this vision of the future is really coming, and that all problems are going to be solved with incredibly advanced technology, mostly computer technology, and that the people who understand it best are the billionaires, and anybody who gets in their way is just impeding utopia. Wow. And so everyone else can just be ignored, and we should give all the control to the billionaires. And this is not a new idea. It's been running around in Silicon Valley for decades.
Yeah, I remember listening to Andreessen Horowitz talk on, I don't know what podcast it was, but it was extraordinary to listen to, because I think he was arguing with I think he might have been arguing with Sam Harris, but he's arguing about the dangers of AI and some of the concerns of it. And in listening to his blue sky sort of, what would you call it? I mean, it was just, there was nothing negative in his mind that AI could happen with AI. Yeah. It was this panacea of this ideal utopia that you talk about in the book, where they're just like, they're promising stuff that is pretty crazy. And then, of course, seeing his takedown of DEI, you kind of understand some of, I guess, DEI, in his opinion, and a lot of the Silicon Valley folks, the DEI got out of hand, and they kind of helped fund this anti-DEI thing as well, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Mark Andreessen is he's he posted this really unhinged thing called the Techno Optimist Manifesto about
Really?
a year and a half ago, which is basically just I mean, a more accurate title for it really would have been the Techno Fascist Manifesto.
Yeah.
Or the Techno Fascist series of unhinged tweets. But it's he really believes that anybody who gets in the way of the progress of technology, whatever that means, is going to kill people. He even says in that manifesto that anyone who slows down the production of this super intelligent, godlike AI that he thinks is inevitably coming soon is essentially committing murder because they're preventing lives from being saved.
Wow.
And that's just an absolutely insane position to take. There's no evidence that anything like that is going to happen, and plenty of evidence that it's not. And the whole thing is just an excuse from Andreessen that I think he genuinely believes, but it is an excuse to just allow him to wield more power and influence than he already does.
You talk about the arc of Silicon Valley turning to the right. Is Peter Thiel at the core of this, starting this back in his years when he was in college? And back then he had a newsletter we had the author of the book The Contrarian, you might be familiar with, Max
Chafkin,
a couple of years ago, and he talked about the rise of Peter Thiel. Is this the source of where things have gone really right in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I mean, Thiel is definitely part of the story, but he is not the whole story. A lot of this stuff predates Thiel, and a lot of this stuff is like part of how Thiel came to believe what he believes. I mean, Thiel is a hardcore right-wing libertarian, and he's got that famous essay that he posted, I want to say like 15 years ago. Everybody quotes it. I quote it in my book, where he says, that he no longer thinks freedom and democracy are compatible, where by freedom, he clearly just means free markets. And then he says that it was, a mistake to, or implies at least that it was a mistake to let women and minorities vote, and awful stuff like that. All of that's terrible, but I actually think the most revealing part of that same essay is a different part that few people quote, where he says that he remains true to the faith of his teenage years that death is avoidable and taxes are bad. And, putting aside the fact that taxes build a flourishing society and death is inevitable, I think it's not a good thing to stay true to the faith of your teenage years. It means you didn't grow or change or learn anything. Why would you boast about that? I'd be embarrassed if that were true.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. And to see him and there was something we talked about in the pre-show. There was a car crash with Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. Tell us how that maybe shaped where we're at today, or did it?
I don't know. It's one of these things where I just think about the universe being a strange place. They had just made a bunch of money. Musk got, I think it was a McLaren, and
PayPal.
Yeah, exactly. Back with PayPal like 15, 20 years ago, and was showing off to Thiel, took him for a ride in it.
Right.
And then, they got to the top of a hill, and Musk apparently said, "Watch this," floored it and hit a tree. And the two of them walked away, and I'm like, man, the world would be different if that accident had gone differently. But it's just the two of them made their first fortune together, and since then have just been going out trying to make the world look more like their science fictional ideas of how it should be. And it's not even good readings of science fiction. It's just, complete misunderstandings of what science fiction is and how the world works and how science works.
Yeah. The clearthinking.org, I think this was put out this morning. It came on my radar this morning, but they put out an accuracy of Elon Musk's predictions and some of the things he's been saying. He lies. I mean, he's like Donald Trump's stepson or something. He lies so much. He has a 16.28% accuracy they found with the stories he tells.
Honestly, that sounds high to me, but that.
It's probably true. They probably gave him some fudge room.
Yeah,
on that.
exactly.
And then you read, I think it was the Wall Street Journal yesterday or the day before, had the story on Ashley St. Clair and the child she had with Elon Musk, and basically this weird sort of thing that he's doing where where's the Me Too movement? He's basically using Twitter to fucking pick up chicks and get laid and create this. He has some sort of weird, I don't know. Have you looked into this at all? The thing with
I saw the same article. I know what you know about it, but he's got this weird ranch where he's trying to build a legion of offspring. It's just this. I mean, a lot of it just seems to go back to a combination of massive ego, disregard for anybody else,
small penis.
Yeah, you said it. But not me. But and also he's like, a lot of this seems to go back to like this sort of really stupid and racist idea of eugenics, right?
Yeah.
That like he wants to create a master race of little Elon clones, and that's not only not going to happen, it's not how genetics works. And but,
you brought up an interesting word, eugenics, because that word is aligned with white nationalism, which is really a rebranding of the KKK. That's all it really is. It is the KKK. And when people realize that Nazism is alive in America and in the White House, it is. It is again, let's put it that way, actually. To see Peter Thiel, at Donald Trump's first it was at the Republican convention, and speak was just kind of alarming to watch, really.
Yes.
It seemed like some, I don't know, ketamine cowboy drunken rant that and when you understand some of the things Peter Thiel's behind the scenes of so much politics over the last, since probably 2015 or longer. What are some of your findings there? I mean, are these guys waking up yet to the fact that they've unleashed a monster in the White House and now they're on the hook for it? I don't know.
I think they see it as a good thing.
Really?
I think they're that both disconnected from reality and power hungry. JD Vance is a creature of Peter Thiel, right?
Yeah.
JD Vance is one of Thiel's proteges, and JD Vance is also, like Thiel, a fan of the work of a guy named Curtis Yarvin, who unfortunately has been profiled in the New York Times and has been getting a lot of attention since the election last year. Yarvin's a monarchist. He's very open about this. Yarvin wants kings. He wants there to be a king of America. He thinks that would make things better. And Vance is a big fan of Yarvin and has said that he really likes Yarvin's ideas. Another idea that Yarvin promoted was the idea to fire pretty much everybody in the federal government and replace them with loyalists to a single leader, which is exactly what we see Musk and Doge doing now. So Yarvin's ideas are being implemented at the highest levels of government, and it's awful. And I think JD Vance and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk think that this is a great thing.
Oh, well, of course they do, because they stand to benefit the most.
Exactly.
Weird how that works. How that works. I'm looking at Curtis Yarvin's picture on the New York Times. Seriously, some down and out coat guy wearing a shitty leather jacket that looks like it's about 20 or 30 years old and can't afford a haircut, evidently, either, or a bath, maybe. I mean, that's just what I'm drawing from this picture.
I mean, he's a piece of work. He's he's also super racist. Who believes in these outdated, discredited ideas about race science, and has said that the problem with the world today is a lack of kings. And I don't know about you, but I don't think that the problem in the world today is that, rich, powerful people don't have enough power. I think it's quite the opposite.
Yeah. So a 51-year-old computer engineer that probably isn't getting laid is ruining my democracy, basically, is what you're saying. I don't know. You didn't say it. I said it.
I didn't say it.
He believes the government. Jesus Christ! I didn't even read this. You've turned me on to this. I had no idea.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, not in that kind of way though. But he believes the government bureaucracy should be radically gutted. He argues the American democracy should place what he calls the monarchy run. Basically, there should be a CEO instead of a president.
Yep, and
he
hates democracy. He sees democracy as the enemy.
He looks like he hates himself, actually. That's my opinion.
That's probably true.
Yeah. At least he dresses like it. He dresses like me, so I'm not throwing shade. Anybody's seen my level of fashion, so I probably shouldn't be throwing shade. What about this space thing that they're always, my mom loves to say this, why are we spending all this money to go to Mars when we got all these poor people here and people are starving and everything's fucked up? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, your mom's well, yeah, but your mom's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think it's great to send robots out into space and explore and learn more about space. I'm an astrophysicist by training. I think learning more about space is a great idea, and it's something we should be doing with robots. Sending people into space is a bad idea for lots and lots of reasons. It's just difficult, but more importantly, dangerous. And for the kinds of things that Musk and company want to do, they don't just want to send someone to the moon to bring back moon rocks so we can do experiments on them. They want to build a space empire with space colonies. And Musk has been very, very clear about this. He says he wants to put 1 million people on Mars by 2050. So there's a self-sustaining colony on Mars that can survive even if a disaster kills everyone on Earth. And this is ridiculous and impossible. You cannot do that. Mars is terrible. Every planet and every moon in the solar system other than the Earth is terrible. Mars, the radiation's too high, the gravity's too low, there's no air, and the dirt is made of poison. There's nothing there for us. And if you tried to put 1 million people there, most of them would die. And if you did have 1 million people there, that's actually not even enough people to have a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. They would all die if the rockets from Earth stopped coming. So yeah, it's that and many other reasons just not going to happen. And I'm not the first one to say this. Musk has been told this publicly over and over, and he just denies it because he's not really interested in science. He's interested in his own dreams, and he's interested in being taken seriously, which is not going to happen.
It's really interesting the way that Americans think. We have this, and I've read that there's an issue with us about this, where we all believe in the American dream, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines from Fight Club, the movie, is we all were growing up being told we're all going to be millionaires, and we're slowly finding out that we got lied to, and it's not true. And we're going to be rock stars and millionaires, and there seems to be this thing about that we have this kind of dreamlike ideal, respected billionaires, actresses and actors. Basically, if you have money, you've somehow squared all this. You've squared the circle of life or something. You've fixed all the problems. And then we don't want to regulate billionaires because we might be them a billionaire someday too. And there's this resistance to regulate these people because, well, we could strike it rich. It's the American dream. You can wake up tomorrow and win the lottery or something, this kind of bullshit sort of mentality. And so we don't regulate these people because we figure that, we could wake up one day and have the shot or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
No, that's definitely a thing here in America. I mean, there's a quote, I think it's Steinbeck, but I'm not sure, who said that in America, there are no poor people, just temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
That explained that line from Fight Club.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, look, we build a society together.
Yeah.
And these people are parasites feeding off of the rest of us.
Yeah.
And they are hoarding their wealth and resources in order to pursue an impossible dream that is never going to happen and would be harmful and terrifying if it did.
Yeah.
So,
and now they've just, we've had people on that have talked about how, going back to Richard Nixon, Betsy DeVos's father started us down this road with the Center for National Policy of, trying to basically flip SCOTUS, which they pulled off over 40, 50, 60 years. They were, they didn't really care about the abortion thing. He just ran all sorts of different experiments to turn out the vote for the Republicans because Johnson had flipped the unions and everything to the Democrats with the with all the legislation that he did to help poor people. And so they had to come up with new money. The Great Southern Strategy was founded out of that. And they created the Center for National Policy, and since then, they've been running their radio shows in the South, and of course working with the Heritage Foundation and all that to the Federalist Society to overthrow our democracy. But the overall arching plan has been for billionaires to be the Republican base, which they have been, and to slowly weed away and overthrow democracy. You've got Citizens United, Reagan's massive illiberalism that actually drove stuff. The intent was to destroy unions, so they drove companies to China and other places. And this is a product of Reagan and his liberalism. And trickle down economics. I'm still waiting for my check from that. I remember I was in junior high when that was out. And so we've been on this path where Republicans, even in recent years, you've seen them dancing with Putin, going over there. And of course they love Hungary too. They Viktor Orban, flirting with him, and they love the oligarchy. They love the racism of and the xenophobia of Russia. I think if you're gay over there, they'll kill you, LGBTQ, or they'll just put you in prison long enough to kill you. God knows there's, their prisons are hell over there. And so it seems like we've been on this path marching towards it. You saw the Citizens United ruling from SCOTUS that was part of Betsy DeVos's father's dream finally coming true. A lot of these rulings that have been, and it's interesting. People seem to have this fantasy that they put on Hollywood people that since they're beautiful and they've got money, they have their shit together, and so we should adore them and just follow them wherever they go. You see these acolytes. I've got friends that, Tim Cook could do no wrong, Apple can do no wrong, Steve Jobs could do no wrong. When anybody who worked with them that have been friends of mine, he was a complete monster. The people that knew him personally, and not to mention the shit he pulled, like one of the things, capping everyone's income in Silicon Valley by doing that dirty deal that really got buried, where they locked everyone's income and they wouldn't allow employees to switch between companies. And so we've kind of on this march for a long time. That's where billionaires just, I think eventually with AI and everything, they just felt like they could seize power, and they're doing it now from what we're seeing.
No, I mean, they think that they can replace the rest of us with AI.
Wow.
And they also think, think that when the AI becomes super intelligent, AGI, which they claim is happening soon, Sam Altman says it's happening in the next 4 years.
Wow.
That's not going to happen. But they think it's coming, and when it does, it's just going to be a permanent dictator that works on their behalf for all of humanity. And they're pretty open about this stuff. If you just read what they say and listen to it, and then read the same stuff that they're reading and see, put the dots together, and that's what I'm doing in my book. It's like they want permanent fascism across the stars with them in charge forever.
And I see these acolytes. Like I have friends that they worship Elon Musk, and there's a lot of bootlicking that goes on, which is ironic because I think bootlicker comes from the Nazi term, doesn't it? Maybe
I think
not.
so.
Maybe boot kicker is the thing I'm wearing.
I
It's
don't know.
early in the morning for me still, waiting for coffee weekend. So I can't get all the references, folks. How much do you want me to know on the show after 16 years? But no, I've seen the worshiping of these men and Democrats really, you know, they bought into the story that Silicon Valley was this right wing or this left wing sort of operation. Elon Musk was left wing. You see the, you know, people shitting themselves to absolve themselves of their Teslas now.
Yeah.
And the Nazism, you know, I mean, it's really crazy what's going on with the Tesla brand. But I think he's destroyed it. I'm not sure there's a way out of, you know, when you've got a symbol that people are posting of you doing the Heil Hitler Nazi thing, and you know, I see like over in Europe they're just making billboards next to Tesla dealerships with that.
Yep.
I mean, there's no way you can put that back in the box or live that down.
I don't think so. I think the Tesla brand is permanently, I hope, destroyed by this. You know?
Yeah. Sadly for the people who, you know, I mean, guys, don't be mean to people who bought the cars years ago. Come on. A lot of them didn't see it coming. A lot of them, I grew up, you know, I was a Democrat up until this election, until after this election. I'd left the Democratic Party in protest because it needs to wake the fuck up. But I'd never in a million years vote for Donald Trump or the Republican parties that were. I left the Republican Party because I thought George W. Bush was a moron.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what I would do now? Holy shit. I left in like 2001.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's I voted for him. I was embarrassed. I'm one of those people that when I vote for somebody, I'm really hard on him. I was hard on Obama. I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I voted for you. You've embarrassed me. And so, you know, I've been on the gamut of both parties now. I'm an independent voter and trying to get the Democratic Party to wake the fuck up. Yeah. And they're still not getting it because that's what got them there.
Yep.
But yeah, to see the All In podcasts and some of these different things you talk about. One thing you talk about in the book I want to get to is you call Chat GPT AI is misleading. It's a marketing term that's gotten way out of hand. Talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, do you think these guys really know what they're doing?
Yeah. I mean, I think AI researchers know what they're doing, you know, like the people working in academia and some of the researchers working at the AI companies know what they're doing, but the billionaires don't know what they're doing. And I do think it's misleading to call these things AI. Because, you know, when I was a kid, right, I'm a big science fiction fan. When I was a kid, I watched a lot of Star Trek: The Next Generation, right? AI is Commander Data. That's AI. AI is, you know, something that actually, you know, understands what's going on and is actually intelligent and conscious of the world around it. The stuff we have now, it's you know, like the term AI has been deflated so much that you're calling like this chat interface that does not have a conception of the world outside of words. And doesn't even understand words. It just, you know, has a probabilistic model of what words go with what. That's not AI. That's you know, that's statistics and maybe you can call it machine learning, but it's not AI. But they want to call it AI because it makes it sound more powerful. Yeah. And of course they want to make it sound powerful. And it's another reason why this narrative of super powerful AI is just around the corner. It is something they genuinely believe. And it's also something that, you know, stands to make them a lot of money. It makes their products sound more powerful than they really are.
Yeah. You know, we've had I think the other thing I was getting to my little ramble before that was, well, I see this acolyte worship, this cult worship. You see that with Elon Musk. I saw that with my friends in Silicon Valley as Elon Musk really started to rise. Yeah. And the worshiping is what's that guy's name? Jones from the Jerry Jones, the guy who had everyone killed in Africa, drank the Kool-Aid?
Jim Jones.
Yeah. Like I said, I can't get all the references, folks. So thank you for helping me there. But you know, to see the worshiping of these people, Donald Trump is the same way. These people that worship, well, he's a billionaire, still must know what he's doing. I was watching some farmers last night. I know that sounded like Deliverance, but it sounds the same to me. And if you voted for the guy, basically these people worship him, and what they don't realize, we've had billionaires on the show. I think there's another one coming up soon. These folks are globalists. They're not Americans per se. I mean, they may be born here, but as far as I'm concerned, they're globalists. And what they've wanted for the longest time, for decades, is to be able to operate in America regulation free. They can go to Vietnam, they can go to China, they can go to all these other countries around the world that are kind of, especially third world countries, and they can go, hey, you know what? We want to produce some shit in your country and pollute the fuck out of it and exploit your workers and pay them shit. And, maybe some people will die, whatever. They'll get over it. And maybe we'll leave a giant pollution behind, et cetera, et cetera. Is that cool with you if we just, fund you some money under the table, or, give you some grift or whatever and buy your government or your leaders? You see what we're doing with El Salvador this week. We're paying them $6 million, and somehow we can't get the people we're misappropriating back to them illegally. Yet we're paying them, and I'm sure they would do it if we ask, because, we're America. We're supposed to be, according to these jokers. But people don't realize these guys are globalists. They don't give a fuck about America. They don't give a fuck about, they want no regulations. They want to be able to do whatever they want, however they want. They want a docile, stupid, ignorant. I see all these pictures that are flooding social media now, where they're saying, hey, basically, Trump wants to destroy everyone's small and medium-sized business and turn us into, China, where we're all working in sweatshops. That's not really far, I think, from some of the thinking they have. They want a docile. They don't want rights. They don't want DEI rights. I mean, part of the DEI attack is attack on employees' rights to assemble. They've been, going after unions, destroying unions. A lot of the, it's like Reagan's liberalism all over again. People don't realize that opening salvo of firing the unions of the air controllers under Reagan was an opening salvo on a war on unions.
Yeah.
And, people just kind of look at it and go, hey, man, and you're like, that's your rights, you dumbass. So that's not in the book, the dumbass part, but I had that.
No, I think that's, that's pretty much right. I wouldn't call them globalists. I would call them oligarchs, technocrats, or just selfish. They don't care about America. They want to sell off America for parts.
Yeah.
They want to get all of the things that belong to all of us, our manufacturing capacity, our population, our natural resources, all of the public lands that we as a country collectively take care of, right? Our national parks and stuff like that. They want to exploit that. They want to mine and fish until everything's gone.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure that we don't know about it, which is why they're going after educational institutions. They want us to be dumb and uninformed, and they're underestimating us, I think.
Well, I hope they're underestimating. You and I can be in the hope boat together.
Yeah, I hope they're underestimating us, but that's what they want. They want us to be. They want us to look the other way.
Yeah. And they're disassembling air and pollution standards again. They're raising fees on banking. I mean, what people don't realize is part of their destruction of the U.S. government is their intent to privatize that. They're basically doing what Putin did with the USSR. They're getting to give different billionaires different products. They want to sell off the United Postal Service. They want to privatize Social Security. Bush tried to do that. He a lot of shit for it, but I guess we were smarter back then, come to think of it. But you're right. The Republican Party has been after destroying education. They don't like college educated people, because college educated people check references and double check news and actually read and educate themselves and have critical thinking developed. They don't want that. They want guys who work in pig farms and canning factories, and they can work to the bone, and they can fire you at will and not have any repercussions of it.
Yeah.
So I think some of the war on DEI is also a war on sexual harassment. One of the sexual harassment, in my opinion, has gotten out of control in the policing of it. And I think DEI did get out of control. When it first started, I was like, this is a great thing. But then, some of the things that Andreessen Horowitz did outline, it got out of control. I mean, when I started having people show up on the show with DEI and talking about microaggressions, I was like, yeah, I'm not, this is too far. This is a bridge too far. I see where you're going with this. This is very socialist, feminine sort of thing. And this is not for meritocracies. And I do believe in meritocracies, even though sadly that seems to be thrown around with the Trump administration. They are dragging us back to a meritocracy, but capitalism is built on meritocracy, and it's just the way it is. So you're going to have socialism one way or another, I suppose. I don't know. You're not really going to have socialism in the Trump administration, so you can't win. But the extremes have been killing us. The extremes of the left party, the extremes of the right are what's really killing us. And I used to believe there was enough sane people in the middle that could hold things together, like myself, but evidently not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I think I'm probably to your left, and I'm not sure I agree with everything you just said. But I do think that the Democratic Party is out of touch with the anger that people feel with the massive inequality that exists in this country, especially around wealth. The Democratic Party, like you said a little earlier, they fooled themselves into thinking that Silicon Valley was on their side. And the fact is that if you are doing, like, if you at least pretend to care or try to care about regulations, you try to care about giving everybody a fair shot. You try to care about keeping corporate power somewhat in check so that it's democratically accountable, so that, corporations don't just bulldoze their way over people the way that Trump and his cronies want them to. If you are a party that's trying to do that, billionaires are never going to be your friends. They don't want those things. And if you bring them into your party, they're just going to try to kill it from the inside, which is exactly what they're trying to do with the Democrats, and is why they feel so feeble right now. They think that they need the billionaire class for their connections and money and strength, but it's actually a weakness. They need to kick them out.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to end up an oligarchy. We're going to end up with Elon Musk owns the U.S. Postal Service and runs it like X, and he does such a great job. That thing, I think it wasn't working the other day again. And you just, I don't know, you'll get right-wing nationalism emails or mail in your junk mail. And, the U.S. Postal Service has already been wrecked by that one guy since the first Trump administration has run it. He had stocks in all the other competitors, so he had an interest to destroy it. Social Security, they want to privatize that. They want to privatize everything. They're literally cutting up the U.S. government to privatize everything. And if you folks think as an American public it's going to be better that way, well, go look at Russia. I mean, the corruption at all levels of Russia are just insane in the oligarchy, kleptocracy, more or less. And you see that what's going on with the Doge thing. I mean, it was just reported by their own admittance. They're finally telling the truth. They're only going to get about 15% of the savings that they, said they were going to get trillions or whatever. And it's just amazing to me how many people worship this whole thing. Like, I'm sure billionaires have our best interests at heart. And you're just like, you're a fucking fool. You're an idiot. These are the last people that have your interests at heart. They want you to sit down, shut up, go to work for them, and leave them alone. And they don't want you to, the joke of Elon Musk being the purveyor of, the protector of everything, First Amendment rights, free speech, is like such a joke. But to see the worship of these people that goes on in our society, the groveling of and servitude of wanting to do their thing. And then, one of the things I've always been involved in that's aligned with Silicon Valley is the kind of the tech bro culture. And you see that with the Bitcoin culture too, the Bitcoin, cryptocurrency culture. There's a lot of people in that industry that they will sell their mother for success and money. They have no scruples of any types whatsoever, as long as they could be seen with the richest of richest, the billionaires, and hang out with them and be seen as potentially one of them through cryptocurrency. It's amazing. I mean, they have zero ethics, zero morality, and they'll sell their mom off to slavery if they can, turn up at parties and win.
Yeah, no, there's a line I heard the other day that I keep thinking about, and I think it's just really accurate. It's someone on the internet somewhere said this. They said, being a fan of a billionaire is like going to a casino and cheering every time the house wins.
God, I love that quote.
Yeah. Like, they're the ones who are trying to screw you. Why do you like them? Like, they want your money, they want your house, they want you to live in poverty and leave them to do whatever the hell they want. They want to deny all aspects of nature. They want to make it so that you can't even go for a walk in the park without coughing up a lung. That's what they want. They want to make everything private. They want you to have to pay for the privilege of doing things that are your right.
Wow. This is, I don't know if the quote you had is attributed to Elron Mexico, but he has a variation of it. Being a fan of a billionaire must feel like walking around a casino you don't own and hooting like a badass every time the house wins, licking the urinals,
that's
calling the trash cans sir.
Yes. That's where I saw it. Yes.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, in this attitude that, well, I don't know, I could become a billionaire too. So I don't want regulations for billionaires just in case I hit the lottery, with my 10 kids and my trailer home, my double wide. I could hit the lottery any day now of creating a business that could, I don't know, go into space or something. I don't know what the fuck. It's interesting. And I'm a capitalist. I grew up starting my first company at 18. I'm a big believer in entrepreneurism and stuff. I think a lot of what's being questioned right now and kind of what's going on in the narrative is it almost seems like Donald Trump and others are trying to destroy small to medium-sized business. There's a lot of these medium-sized businesses that are flooding TikTok, crying and complaining, and sadly they voted for Trump as well. So they're in that the leopards ate my face because I trusted him, and we're like, we told you not to trust them, dumbass. And they're still going on about it. In fact, I have no empathy for any of them if they voted for this. I'm done with the whole process of that. I think people need to be held responsible for shit now. This is especially if we lose democracy in businesses. But it seems like they're trying to wipe out small businesses and medium-sized businesses, especially with this China thing. I have a shitload of friends that they make a living in multi-million-dollar businesses. There's employees they have. There's big businesses that contributes they make to their society and charity. They're losing their shirt right now. They don't even know what to do. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's deliberate, right? They want to create a crisis that will drive all of the small and medium-sized businesses out of business and then take all of their market share and all of their resources. They want to centralize corporate control, government control, make it all the same thing, make it permanent. This is fascism.
Yeah, fascism. And they want us to be the willing workers. I mean, them getting rid of all the immigrants that we actually need, if you understand how the work is done in this country and the costs and, how your produce comes to you and stuff, we need immigrants. We have a shortage of employees. We have a huge shortage coming down the pike. And everything's going to be super expensive. I mean, already, if you're a welder or if you're someone who works in the trades of blue collar, You're getting paid more than doctors in some cases.
Yeah.
Because there's no one who wants to do those jobs, and there's very few people that are skilled at it that can do it anymore.
Exactly. I mean,
And,
look, there's
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And they want us working at sweatshops. They basically want my business to end and go work in a sweatshop because someone has to fill those shoes.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you see Florida has just enacted laws where, you know, they can put child labor back to work because they got to fill those shoes of the immigrants that are being kicked out. So, they're just, to me, it seems a little far-fetched, but it seems true. I mean, believe what you see and the actions they're taking, but they just want us all to be working in slave shops and get rid of China.
Yeah. I mean, they think slavery is fine.
Wow.
You know, Yarvin has said nice things about slavery, and
Jesus.
Yeah. And look, you know, there's a bakery just a couple blocks away from me, a really nice bakery. It's very successful. You know, when it's open, the line is out the door. Everybody loves all of their stuff. It's very good. Shortly after the pandemic, they had to reduce their hours quite seriously, and they have not been able to bring them back. And they had a sign in the window for a while saying, look, we know that you want us to be open more the way we used to be, but there just aren't enough workers. We can't do it. We cannot find enough people to work here to keep the shop open, which sucks because it means that, you know, everybody loses, right? We don't get as much stuff from the bakery as we want, and the bakery doesn't get as much income as they want, right? The limiting the limiting thing for them is not that they don't have like enough, you know, money to get the stuff they need to make more baked goods. The problem is people. And yeah, if we had sane immigration policy in this country, then that would not be a problem. I mean, anybody who knows anything about American history knows that immigrants made this country, right? My grandparents are immigrants, and so is everybody else's grandparents and great grandparents here, unless you're Native American. And you know, they want to shut the borders, kick out anyone who isn't white, lock up anyone who says anything against the administration, and get rid of elections. They want permanent fascism. It's wrong, it's evil, and it's un-American.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to this about a friend last night. We were talking about elections, and I go, you know, everyone's talking about how this will just get fixed in 2 years during the midterms, that maybe the House and Senate will flip to Democrats, or, you know, in 4 years we'll have another election. There's not going to be another election. I don't believe there's going to be another election. I really don't.
Yeah. I think if there is one, they're going to try to tip the scales so it's not fair.
Yeah. They just removed the security protocols for all the state things that were being done by the federal thing. Yeah. And basically the states are freaking the fuck out because it was, they've just stood down our defense and offense with cyber wars with Russia. They literally opened us up to do whatever.
Yeah. So we're going to get foreign interference with the elections, and it's going to be awful.
Yeah. In fact, there's something really disturbing in one of the recent news reports, that the guys went into Doge. I think this just came out recently. The guys went into Doge. I think this is coming from the whistleblowers. If you've read their accounts, but the whistleblowers, I believe, is reporting the guys came into a Doge. The Doge guys came into one of the I don't know what department it was, but just, I mean, they've been in them all. So, but basically they came in, they created fake accounts, they accessed all the data, and they exported it. The whistleblowers found that they sent the data off to somewhere. They don't know where. Yeah. And then they erased all the logs. They made it so they wouldn't create logs, and then they erased whatever logs they had. Then they erased the accounts they had, all of it to make everything untraceable. And one of the really disturbing things was a week later, IPs from Russia started trying to ping in to access the data, and they had taken off all the security protocols, the third-party identification, all the different protocols that you use to create additional security layers. They turned that all off. They literally opened the data up to where anybody could access it. And so when they got control of the data again, they started putting the protocols back in, and they started noticing IPs coming from Russia. The IPs were using the login and passwords from the Doge guys. They were trying to log into those accounts that they had created. So someone had given someone in Russia, their logins. That's just alarming when you think about it. And they were trying to download the data, of course.
It's alarming. Also, to me, sounds like treason.
Yeah. Well, treason is only applicable in war. So you have to be in wartime, yeah.
Sure. It's treasonous. Yeah, exactly. It's undermining America to try to bring down this country. Mm-hmm. And that's what Donald Trump and Elon Musk want.
Wow. To break everything. And then, the part of the fascism thing is you break everything and then you say, I alone can fix it.
Yep.
From there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're the ones who broke it. And Americans are stupid enough to go, okay, I guess let them fix it. They're billionaires. They know what they're doing. Like I said, I was watching Farmers last night, and they're getting burned to the ground by these tariffs and stuff, but they're still just sitting there going, well, he's a successful billionaire. We just have to watch and see how it plays out. And you're like, holy shit, dude. It's like watching someone put their hand in a blender. And you're like, no, stop, wait, don't. Yeah. And they do it, and they just keep doing it. There's some guy on TikTok that I posted. He voted for Trump 3 fucking times, and he's been losing money on his tariffs for all these 3 times. Yeah. And now it just got worse. Now he's completely out of business, and he's crying on TikTok. And you're just like, the leopards ate your face, stupid. We warned you. And then the other thing that makes me angry is Project 2025 told everyone what they're up to. Yeah. Like they're enacting the blueprint. Yep. They told everybody. And not only did Democrats and people like me scream about it when I was a Democrat, warning about it. Project 2025. You're like, read Project 2025. And just these people's dismissal of like, it won't be that bad, whatever. They've never read a history book on fascism, authoritarianism.
Yeah. No, exactly. And if you want more proof that billionaires are no smarter than the rest of us, go take a look at a billionaire named Bill Ackman. What happened when the tariffs came in, right? Mm-hmm. He said, oh my God, this is awful. And then this is almost exactly what he said on Twitter. He said something like, well, I was wrong, but I don't think this was foreseeable. And like, buddy, Trump said he was going to do this with the tariffs during the election over and over and over and over again. It was one of the most consistent things that he said. What do you mean it wasn't foreseeable? We've been screaming at you about this for over a year. But
I'm unforgiving on Trump supporters. I am unforgiving this round. I do not give a fuck because they were warned. I mean, Project 2025 was really obvious. He said he was going to bring tariffs throughout his Trump's whatever is running for office. And it almost seems like a real Faustian bargain. Do you see our billionaires? I mean, I was just reading that one of the reasons Mark Zuckerberg saddled up to Trump was because the Justice Department it might cost him $500 million or something in fees, and maybe he can knock it down to 30 million or something. It almost seems like what you've imparted in your book is their promises and this fantasy that they have that they can control everything, do everything. Maybe they thought they can control President Trump. People that are successful have always loved him because, they felt like they could steer him because he was a useful idiot, for people like Putin. Mm-hmm. But now it seems like the Pandora's box is opened and the cat's out of the bag, and they're like, holy shit, we can't control him, and he's going to destroy all of our investments.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? Or in the words of in the words of a more recent generation, fuck around and find out.
Fuck around and find out. The FAFO. Yeah, that's my every other post is FAFO right now. I've just been collecting, like literally my Facebook has become a channel of people who are crying on Twitter and Facebook and TikTok about how the leopards ate their face because they trust the leopards. And you're just like, you're fucking stupid. Everyone told you. Like with Donald Trump, there was the first round. There was no, the whole thing was such an accident. He was surprised to win the presidency. They didn't think they were going to win.
No.
And, this time around, we all knew. Like, I'm just, and people are just like, why is it so chaotic? I'm like, where were you during the first presidency? Did you not understand that this is this man's pattern of abuse, malignant narcissism? But yeah, it almost seems like these billionaires, it seems like your book has really called it on these guys, because they think they're the shit. And boy, they've really been proven wrong. I'm like, I'm surprised the All In podcast isn't being like, we fucked up, but
they're never going to say that.
Yeah, they never have to admit that.
No.
Final thoughts as we go out. Pitch people on where to pick up the book, where to get to know you better on the .coms, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah. I mean, the book is available wherever you can get books. I mean, I guess you could get it from Amazon if you want to give Jeff Bezos a little money. But you can also get it from Bookshop or local independent bookstores, please. It's called More Everything Forever again. And you can find me on Blue Sky at Adam Becker. You can find me on my website, freelanceastro.com. And you can also find me in all sorts of newspapers and magazines. Yeah.
I'm reading, I just popped up as you were saying that, the New York Times article on Curtis Javan.
Yeah.
It's from January 18th of 2025, folks, if you want to search for it. But one of the top comment is this: a nation is not a business. That really tells you something.
Yeah.
We've talked in the show, we've had authors on that have talked about unbridled capitalism, and I'm a capitalist, but there is unbridled capitalism in this country. It needs to be constrained. It is.
Yes.
We don't need to put dollars on everything. I mean, having a post office that delivers the mail and, does the simple thing, having a Social Security or IRS that can pick up the phone. And evidently right now you can't get anybody to pick up the phone anywhere. Like there's a bunch of senators or congressmen that dialed up the Social Security. You can't get them on the phone. They even tell you that like Wednesday is the best day to call, and they call on Wednesday and they're getting nothing. Yeah. And so it's just mayhem. And I think of, the little folks, senior citizens that are trying to deal with this thing. I think my mom said her IRS check hadn't cleared yet from the IRS rebate thing. And I'm like, should I tell her that she might not get it anytime soon? I don't know about Social Security. I've heard Social Security checks maybe haven't been flowing like they should. It's kind of scary. And so that quote, "a nation is not a business," is going to stick with me. So is your book. So thank you for writing it. Thank you for calling these people out. And looks like you called the ball right, because these guys are getting a lot of egg on their face. Sadly, they've got enough money to weather any storm, while the average American doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. They're going to just sit back and try to make their way through a disaster that they created while the rest of us burn.
Wow. Well, I guess we're just wood for the fire when it really comes down to it. When you study history, that's what the average person does in governments usually. Everyone burns for governments to rule and do their thing.
Yeah, but that's why we got to fight back.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, everyone buy your book and give it a read. We certainly appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for the wonderful discussion. Adam, I'm going to send this to all my Silicon Valley acolyte friends who pray to that God and see if they can't wake up. Maybe. I don't know. That or I'll hit them over the head with the book. One of the two.
Yeah, well, well, thank you, Chris. And don't hit them over the head with the book. But,
verbally hit them over.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do violence.
Yeah.
So thanks, Adam. Order the book, folks, wherever fine books are sold. More Everything Forever: AI Overlords, Space Empires, Silicon Valley Crusade to Control the Fate of Humanity. Out April 22nd, 2025. Guys, we're all stewards of our democracy. It's up to us to raise our voices and make things happen. If you haven't checked, Congress is complicit in this takeover of the oligarchy. The courts are the only thing standing between us and democracy, and they're barely holding on. And it's up to our voices. If we don't raise our voices and start raising hell, and people start waking up from their fevered dreams of Donald Trump, this democracy is over. And I don't have children, which is maddening to me, because if I did, I'd be losing my fucking mind right now, on top of where I'm already losing my mind. So if you have children, you should really think about the future. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com, Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com, Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1, TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should have us out. Final button.